The article is more about what the government should do. And frankly, even if I were advising a Congress government, my advice to them would be to actually act with restraint at this time. Restraint is not surrender, restraint is strength. It's a way of showing that we know what our interests are and we will act first of all to protect our interests.
A rare political divergence is now shaping India's response to a volatile global crisis. At a time when the Congress party is attacking the centre's silence on the West Asia conflict, senior leader Shashi Tharoor is striking a very different tone. Speaking publicly, Tharoor has backed the Indian government's cautious approach to the escalating tensions involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. His message is simple but significant. Restraint, he says, is not surrender, it is strength.
No, I think I fully appreciate what Sonia Gandhi ji and others have said on the opposition. Because we are the opposition, we can afford to take a moral stand. The article is more about what the government should do. And frankly, even if I were advising a Congress government, my advice to them would be to actually act with restraint at this time. Restraint is not surrender, restraint is strength. It's a way of showing that we know what our interests are and we will act first of all to protect our interests.
So sir, do you think at first place India should have sent the condolences on Mr.
There I agree completely with the critics of the government that the very first day of the conflict when the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, was killed, that very day we should have expressed our condolences. After all, the supreme religious leader of a friendly country, that would have been the appropriate thing to do. You remember when President Raisi died in the helicopter crash a couple of years ago, immediately we issued condolences, we declared mourning. That is the right thing to do. We should not stand on the technicality that he's not officially head of state. We all know his role in that country, and it would have been the right thing to do. And I'm very glad that when the Iranian embassy in Delhi opened a condolence book, that our foreign secretary was sent immediately to express condolences. But I think we could have said more, and I think that there would have been no harm. You see, there is a difference between condemnation and condolence. If you feel politically you're not going to condemn what the American-Israeli attack has done, that's fine. But condolence is an expression of sympathy for a bereaved one, and it's sympathy to the government and people of Iran. That's something we could have done.
This is not just a comment. It is a clear departure from the line taken by Congress leadership. Veteran leader Sonia Gandhi has openly questioned the centre's silence, calling it a failure of foreign policy. She has argued that India's response lacks moral clarity, especially after the reported killing of Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei. For Sonia Gandhi, silence is not neutrality, it is abdication. But Tharoor sees it differently. From his perspective, foreign policy is not about loud statements, it is about protecting national interest. He has made it clear that if he were advising any government, even a Congress one, he would recommend the same path, measured restraint. This difference highlights a deeper debate within Indian politics. Should India take a moral stand in global conflicts, or should it prioritize strategic caution? Tharoor is firmly on the side of strategic realism. He has drawn a distinction between condemnation and condolence, suggesting that diplomacy often operates in shades of grey, not black and white. Backing this view, Congress MP Manish Tewari has also supported the government stance. He has described the West Asia crisis as complex and multi-layered, and not India's war to fight.
So first of all, I think it's important to understand that there is not one war which is happening in West Asia. There are multiple wars which are taking place. There is, of course, the conflict between Israel and Iran, supported by the United States of America. Then, of course, there is the historical antipathy between some of the other major players in the wider Middle East with Iran. Then, of course, there is a greater dynamic about the United States trying to kneecap its biggest strategic rival, China, and therefore the moves on Venezuela and the move on Iran and some of the rhetoric even on Canada and the off-ramps which are now being offered to Russia, and of course to some extent subverting the BRICS ultimately, are all moving pieces which are at play. So therefore there is a need to really look beyond the headline And so therefore, what really is happening between Israel, United States and Iran is at one level it seems to be about, these three countries, but essentially if you look a little more deeper, there is a more audacious strategic play which is being attempted, and if I may say, the play is perhaps as bold as when the Bretton Woods institutions were created, and it is about continuing to maintain the dominance of the US dollar. So therefore, the Middle East is, or what is happening between Israel and Iran and the United States taking a side, is not about just the Middle East dynamic on its own.
Clearly, and most people seem to believe it's no longer about fighting terrorism either. But do you believe India's strategic autonomy remains intact in the middle of the morass that we find ourselves in currently?
Well, it's not our war. We've always been rather marginal players in the greater Middle East. And the problems of the Middle East did not start today. They started when the victors of the First World War actually tried to reorder the Middle East post the collapse of the Ottoman Empire in 1918. And it has its origins in the Sykes-Picot Agreement, the Balfour Declaration, and the manner in which the trajectory of the Middle East has shaped itself over the past 1 century. So therefore, in all this, we've always, and thankfully so, been rather marginal players on the sidelines. And since we have a huge diaspora, close to 48 million people, a large number of them coming from the state which my honorable colleague represents in Parliament, in addition to that, of course, the imperatives of our energy security, not limited to crude oil and natural gas, but also fertilizer, which is extremely important for our food security. If we are circumspect, I think probably we are doing the right thing, because that is really what strategic autonomy is about, the ability to protect your interests and navigate, if I may put it in those words, contradictory impulses. And there couldn't be greater contradictory impulses playing themselves out as the current situation, which continues to evolve and is in its third week now.
This emerging bipartisan support for restraint signals something larger. Despite political differences at home, there is a growing consensus on one point: India must avoid being drawn into external conflicts. The stakes are high. The region is witnessing multiple overlapping tensions. Any misstep could have serious consequences for India's energy security, diaspora, and strategic interests. New Delhi's silence, therefore, may not be weakness, it may be calculation. India has deep ties across the region, from Iran to Israel to the Gulf nations. Balancing these relationships requires careful diplomacy, not reactive statements. And that is where Tharoor's remark lands with impact. In a charged political environment, he is effectively arguing that restraint is not retreat, it is a deliberate choice. A choice to stay focused on national interest, a choice to avoid escalation, and a choice to navigate a dangerous global moment with caution. As the conflict continues to unfold, this internal debate within Indian politics reflects a larger truth. In today's world, silence can sometimes speak louder than words.